So that's for sound check. All right. We are here in Smithville, Texas, recording podcast number 1. My podcast name for now is just the Ricky B Podcast. I thought of some potential names, but I didn't want to get too crazy with it right off the bat. So
yeah, you can always change that.
Yeah.
Just pop it off a little bit later on.
But I figured my name would make it easy to find, and I'm pretty new to all this. I don't really know, the specific direction that I'm going to take it in. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of just going to put it out there and see what kind of response I get.
Throw it at the wall, see what sticks, man.
Yeah, dude, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be fun, I think. We'll have a good conversation. It's nice out here. We got a beautiful day after this. It's a nice 4th of July.
That's it, baby.
America. It's good to be here. Good to be celebrating 4th of July in Texas, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Had a lot of great times in this state. I'm looking forward to getting more involved and having conversations. Really, I'm intending to have conversations just with people in my life that I'm interacting with. I think my next one might be my pastor. I got a couple other people that I'm thinking about talking to. And just having a conversation. I felt I'm glad that I'm doing the first one with you because I think that trip to Houston, we did a lot of talking and covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, definitely.
And we just had, it was 8 hours of driving all day. Yeah. So, I mean, it was really
I don't think we shut up either the whole time.
No.
So
we were listening to
rare,
music.
Man.
Yeah, but we were talking the whole time.
Yeah.
And covered a lot of ground, a lot of topics, and I had kind of been throwing around the idea of starting a podcast for a while and just recording some conversations, and not necessarily for my own opinion, but to kind of see what kind of response.
Yeah, I like it.
So I'm excited about this project. I think that I'm gonna have a lot of fun doing it. And I'm not taking classes this summer, so I took 4 semesters straight. I took summer semester last summer. And so coming around to this summer, I've been working a lot, but it's just I still have time to fill, and I wanted a project to get involved in. So, I mean, this is kind of where my mind has gone recently. And I'm super excited about it. Glad to be here with you. I think we're going to talk about some cool stuff today and maybe get a little bit positive, maybe some negative, and that's kind of what I want. I want to start a conversation, maybe step on some toes and see where it goes. Not on purpose.
You put that on a t-shirt, bro. Step on some toes and see where it goes.
Yeah, dude. But, I mean, and we're both veterans, so I'll introduce you a little bit. This is my good buddy, Jimmy Easley.
Hello, everyone.
Or the illustrious Jimbo Sleazy, if you
Jimbo
follow
Sleazy,
on Instagram.
You're looking for the Insta handle. That's it.
And I'm sure you'll see him around. He's currently going to school for EMS.
Yeah. Get my EMT certification and then eventually paramedic.
Yep. And you did 3 years in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
0311, right?
3.5 of 311.
Cool.
Yeah.
Infantry guy. So all my Cav buddies, don't hold it against him. He's just trying to do his thing the rest of us.
I'll try not to call you Pogue too many times.
I'm expecting it. That's going to be the first thing if vets start watching it. Be like, oh, it's freaking Pogue. And I didn't even have a combat deployment. I went to Egypt. So, I mean, that's another mark against me. But I did it. I did the thing.
Hey,
I was there for 3 years. Yeah. And it was a good experience. And it's given me an in a very interesting community of people. And I have a lot of, you and I hit it off right off the bat just because of that background, you know?
I feel like I've always kind of... I find out dudes are better, or women too, or chicks, or whoever. I end up talking about some service, and it's instantly you click with those people a little bit more. And then it's just even better once you have we're the same age and have a lot of the same interests and everything. So
dealing with a lot of the same struggles too, coming out of the military and dealing with coming back to the civilian world. And one of my purposes, hopefully, with this podcast is kind of cover some ground in the ways that I've been able to be successful since leaving the military, and things that I've found that have worked, things that I tried that didn't. One of the things was employment. So we're both working at Einstein Moving Company right now, which I feel like has been a great transition for me out of the military into civilian world, because it's still that kind of, we have a good group of guys at that company. We work hard. It's physical labor. And You know, it feels a lot the same at some moments as the military. And there's that same, I mean, it's kind of a male bonding experience, and everybody kind of goes through the initiation phase, starting to work there. And I don't know, the structure there has been similar, and that's been great. But my first job, I tried to work at a restaurant when I first moved to Austin. And that was like my least favorite job I've ever had, because I went from like the military to working in a restaurant, and I hated it. It was the worst.
I can't do food service, man. It's terrible. I can't do it.
What was your first job like post Marine Corps?
First job post Marine Corps. I've had actually a couple different jobs since I've been out. So I got out and I had a little bit of money saved up. So I'm just gonna hang out a little bit, kind of let everything cool down. And then I'll try and find a job. So obviously the money kind of ran out. So I was like, shoot, what the hell am I going to do? I thought I had a plan, but.
What was your plan when you were actually ETSing from the Marine Corps?
So
what was your plan?
I have 2 points on this. I had the idea that I've done the Marine Corps. I can do absolutely anything I want to do and be successful, which is true. But I kind of looked at it like nonchalantly, and I figured like, once I get out, like.
I did the hard part already.
Yeah, it'll just happen. And I think that's a problem that a lot of vets have is they think, which it's true to an extent, but it only gets you so far, that you can do anything you want to do, but you have to like prepare yourself and plan for it. And so I kind of did the wrong thing where I just was like, hey, like I'll just figure it out as I go. Got out, kind of wasn't going so great. I mean, it wasn't terrible. Like I have a strong family to support me, and my girl is awesome, so that helps out. But so I just honestly was like looking at Craigslist ads, and I found a job at a lumber yard, and I did it for like 3 days, and I was like, dude, like $10 an hour, and I was like, this sucks. But I had the mindset of I'm gonna keep doing it until I find something better. Just so happens something better rolled around. I got a job opportunity at a plant recycling trees and stuff. As soon as I was about to get hired, they had like a massive budget cut and laid everybody off. So there I was without a job.
Yeah.
So I actually was watching TV with my girl one day, and a commercial for this TV show, like reality TV show, like Jail. I don't know if y'all have ever seen it or heard of it or whatever, but Jail came on, and I was like, dude, my dad worked in the jail, my mom worked in the jail. So I'll just apply at the jail, like local jail, county jail, Did that, and the hiring process for that is, anywhere from 3 to 12 months. So I had to find something in the meantime. So I got on with a local beer distributor company. I did that for like 2 or 3 months until I got hired on at the jail. I did that for a year and a half or so, and they wouldn't. I wanted to go to school and do some other things and kind of further my education. They didn't really want to work with my schedule, so but no big deal. I understand. So that's when I popped smoke and got on with Einstein. Decided to work for a moving company in the Texas summer. It was a great idea. And then I've been going to school ever since. So.
Yeah, man.
So I'm kind of a jack of all trades, master of none for sure.
Yeah.
Kind of done a little bit of everything.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I mean, getting out of the military, I definitely had a plan, but sort of the aspect of getting out of the military that causes people to stay in, one of them is that there is an aspect of just you don't know. You don't know how the things that you're planning on doing are going to shake out. You have to be able to overcome those hurdles, face them and overcome them. For some guys, it makes more sense to stay in the Army and take your chances. Yeah, for me, like it's easier to stay in the Army and take your chances with how your career progression is going to go in the military.
Military's easy, dude. Military's easy if you play the game the right way. So.
I mean, yeah, it's easy if you don't mind like those aspects of it that like most people get out for.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a tough game to play.
Yeah,
and it's tough to do long term. I feel like when you're younger, for me, when I joined the military, I definitely needed like that discipline structure for sure. But it wasn't something, I may have gone into it thinking that it was a career option, but it wasn't something I was like married to the decision of like staying in the military long term. And when it came down to it, I had to just kind of face the unknowns of the situation and kind of just like wing it in some aspects. You know, a general idea of what you want to do, and then kind of take it as it comes. Because when I moved down to Austin, there were plenty of hurdles that I had to overcome. I was working hard,
especially living, being from a different state.
Yeah,
originally, it's probably a huge transition.
Yeah, my family's up in New Hampshire, so I haven't seen them in about a year and a half now, and I really need to get back home and see them. But it's definitely hard being down here. But I was stationed at Fort Hood. I had gone to Austin a few times, and I knew there was a lot of opportunity there. And I had a good experience overall. I've learned a ton since being there, and I think it was a good culture to be around coming out of the military. You know, just under a lot of stress and just like crazy situations for 3 years. It was kind of nice to get away and decompress and kind of really learn what I just experienced and kind of deal with it and in a healthy way. But thankfully, I mean, in my situation, I wasn't dealing with combat stress, and I mean, I'm super thankful for that, you know, like that I wasn't dealing with that. But obviously, you went to Afghanistan. How long were you there?
From April of 2013 to October, end of October, I think, is when we came back.
Okay.
This is kind of weird, man. Like it was a combat deployment, and we patrolled our asses off. Like we did a good bit, a bunch of other stuff. Like we basically kind of we didn't close the base that we were on down, but we I think we shrunk the size of it by like half while we were there. Bringing in defenses closer, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Dude, and there was, we were getting ready to push out to go to Afghanistan, and I remember the media at the time was talking about, because it was right when Ramadan was about to start. And they were saying how it was going to be, the biggest fighting season of the year, or of the whole war, and this and that. And, we're like, this is what we've been training for like a year and a half or so now. So, we're like ready to go. Like, I'm not scared or anything. Yeah. I mean, I say not scared. Everybody's a little bit scared.
Yeah.
If you aren't a little bit scared, you're not human, but we're, ready to face what.
Do your job.
Yeah, exactly. We knew what we signed up for. So we get there, dude, and it's just so unbelievably quiet and like nothing going on that we all went like absolutely insane. It was wild, dude. I mean, like my squad towards the end of deployment, we hit a IED. Luckily, nobody was hurt. I think a couple guys had like concussions, but other than that, like nothing major. So luckily, thank God for that. But dude, I remember specifically we were on QRF for the way we did it, like cycled. So like one platoon would be QRF, one would be patrol, and then one would be on rest cycle for 2 months or whatever the period of time was. I don't remember. And so we were QRF, like supporting the squad that was patrolling, doing like night patrols and day patrols. And I remember we would always watch Afghan theater. We would set up like a laptop and everybody would be surrounded watching a movie or something. Dude, we watched Jarhead. I haven't watched it again since, and I don't think I'll ever watch it again, because it was like so depressing, like how realistic. Like I was like, wow, that's exactly what this deployment is. Like nothing's going on at all, and they're always like behind the eight ball, like not in the way like you see like war heroes like depicted. It was so realistic that I just don't want to watch it again. Like everybody,
because it's annoying.
Yeah, we finished the movie. Nobody said a word to each other. We all just went to bed. Like everybody was so pissed off. Like, wow, like we just watched this movie that we're living through right now.
Yeah.
And so, dude, I think it messed with a lot of guys. Like, they've been training up for a year for this, this like blood, death, and gore. Like they think this is gonna happen. We're gonna, it's like, of course, like your seniors tell you it's gonna be like Vietnam. It's gonna be absolutely crazy. And then you get there.
Well, a lot of those guys have been through that. Like they were in the surge and stuff. Like most of my E6, the staff sergeants and stuff in my unit and stuff had been through the surge in cav units who were attached to armor, brigades and stuff like that. So they were with tanks, like blown up buildings.
Yeah, for sure.
Like kicking indoors and all that stuff, and saw some hairy stuff. And but
yeah, nothing against them by any means. That's what they like. They saw,
lived through it. Yeah.
And so obviously, like as little boots, were thinking like, oh, this is how it's going to be. Like we're about to get ready, And we get there, and it's like shaking up a Coke bottle and then like not opening the top and letting it go. So it's like the old Marine Corps like additive that I always hear is the Marine Corps is like a pit bull you just keep in a cage and like poke it with a stick and then give it a little bit of meat every now and then and just for the taste and then you just let it out on the bad guy. I know that's like moto as hell, but I've heard it before. But it's pretty much what happened, dude. Like, except we just didn't get let out of the cage, so it just went crazy.
My really good buddy Justin Kugel in my platoon used to always compare us to pit bulls too.
Yeah, that's like an old I remember I've heard that so many times, like a million times. But
and yeah, like when you're 20 years old, that's really how you see yourself. You're trying to prove yourself, especially in that environment where it's like you have to put on that face of no fear.
Oh yeah, you can't be a punk by any means. Like if you're a punk, dude, it's like it gets, man, they just sniff it out so quick. Yeah. Everybody sniffs it out. They can just tell, You're
and
not down.
You catch it forever. You never live it down.
Yeah. Once you're that guy, like you have to like really put on a show to not be that guy again.
But I mean, it's completely different. Like that culture is completely the enlisted culture, and I really feel like, the officer culture is something completely different. So I went through ROTC for a year in Wisconsin and was training with a bunch of guys who were preparing to be officers. And I had a 4-year commission to commission in the Army. So I was going through the ROTC program at that time, and I had already been through a cadet program in high school. So it was kind of like a continuation, a big boy version of what I had already been doing in high school.
Yeah.
And I realized that if I joined a combat arms unit, I was going to be showing up to a combat arms unit put in charge of, 60, 90 guys or whatever. And, you're supposed to lead them. And I don't think I was prepared for that at the time,
Yeah.
And other aspects of it, I wasn't really planning on making the military a career. It wasn't really a career decision. Most of the guys that I know that I was in RTC with are mostly still in and like captains and stuff like that now. And it just wasn't that kind of decision for me. And I'm happy with what I got out of the military and the relationships that I made and the people that I was around. Obviously, when you're enlisted, you take so much more crap. Like, it's never ending. But it taught me to, like, really be okay with my situation and realize that I can't control everything and to really dedicate myself and control the things that I can.
That's a great
working
point,
out
man.
for sure.
Yeah. My military experience, the most important thing it taught me is that once you hit that that friction point of life, like whatever even if it's just deciding if you want to leave your current job for a slightly better one that may this and that, whatever that friction point is, like if you just like drive through it and keep the pedal down, like keep up with your discipline, like self-discipline with your eating and whatever that sort of stuff, and just drive through the friction points, you're gonna be okay, and you're gonna be better on the other side because of it.
The point is that it makes you a better person ultimately,
sure.
And you have to experience and go through those points. I'm here in this position right now trying to do what I'm doing because I've been in that position of having no control,
Yeah.
And for me, this is something that is bigger than just my opinion or things that I want to say or things that I've experienced in my life. It becomes about having the conversation that matters and about talking about the things that everybody's experiencing. This is the reemergence of the free press of what, on July 4th, I'm really glad I'm doing it on this day because this is what made our country what it is right now. A bunch of colonials decided to take on the greatest empire in the world at the time.
Definitely.
And that attitude and that revolution was started on local press, on people that were members of their communities, writing literature like the Federalist Papers and stuff, really like reading philosophy and getting involved with their government and their communities and things going around them, and really coming to politics and the political movement in our country from a position of faith and really doing what they were doing, believing that they were being guided by a divine hand. And I think that voice for truth and reason in a political atmosphere is something that we're seeing kind of break through the facade of what the political agenda of our country is.
Yeah,
sure. The people at the ground level want to get back to what has made America great in the past, you know?
Dude, and that's what I see, man. Like, I don't see a lot of people push the, like, negative, like, oh, this person's racist, this person doesn't want this person to have food, this, yada, yada. I don't see that, like, on a day-to-day basis. I see people who genuinely care about one another, like, genuinely want to help, and I don't think the government should force people to be charitable. And I think that if you take away restrictions and allow people to be charitable on their own, they 100% will. Like, I think it's embedded in, like, a Judeo-Christian...
But it has to be nurtured, too, in communities. It has to be nurtured by people who have the leadership in the communities. It has to be helped along, you know? Because even as much as people really want that, they want our strong communities, they want people to be coming together, they want America to be what it was at the foundation, you know, and to stand for those same values. That's what people want. Yeah. That's the message that is coming out from underneath all of the political mayhem that's going on right now. And that's the thing that I want to nurture the most in, like, the community and through this podcast and stuff, is that attitude of, you know, people taking control of their communities and what's happening around them, and making sure that the values that they promote and, like, that they personally hold are being espoused by the government as well. Yeah. And that's going to take real people, regular people, just getting involved, you know? Yeah, and you have to just stand up and do something, you know? And I know you listen to Jordan Peterson too.
Oh yeah, that's my dude, man.
Yeah, and I've really enjoyed the series that he's putting out over the summer, and I highly recommend that anybody listening to this looks into his videos, Jordan B. Peterson on YouTube, and watch his lectures. He's doing a great series this summer. He's a really intelligent guy, very well read. He's a professor of psychology at the University of Toronto. Great dude, and a lot of really great information. And part of what has brought me to this point of putting out a podcast is his influence of just really taking responsibility for the way that our country is operating, the things that we support, and making sure that, you know, your own core foundation is sound, and that when you're speaking your truth into the world, that you're saying what you know as honestly as possible. And if you're doing that, you don't have to be afraid of the outcome. You don't have to be ashamed of what exists in the world with your name on it, because you're doing your best to live your truth in the world. Yeah, dude. And that's really, I mean, that's a huge deal. That's, for me, one of the main reasons of doing this. And I really just want to talk to the people around me. Get the truth.
Clean your room before you tell other people to clean theirs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I know my little brother actually is getting involved with social media. He has a YouTube channel, PD Benzie TV. I'll give him a little shout out on YouTube. Yeah, and he just started, like, this clothing line, I guess, thing, Phoenix Outfitters, on Instagram. And
you can do it, man. That's the way to do it. These days, like, just market yourself and you can do whatever.
He's planning on going to college for business, and he's put out, like, videos, mostly, like, comedy kind of stuff, just messing around with my other brothers and stuff. He's 18. He just graduated from high school. But, like, I mean, I want to have my own foray into it and kind of see what comes out of it, and then hopefully, you know, be able to help them along with anything that I learn along the way. But it's been cool. I have pages on pretty much all social media now. I have a Facebook page. They're all the Ricky B podcast on Instagram, on Facebook. I have a SoundCloud account and YouTube channel. So, I mean, you can stay involved with, like, what's happening. I'm planning on sharing pretty much everything that I record as much as possible on all over those social media platforms. So there's that. Let's see. We're at about 30 minutes now. So we got about 30 more minutes. So I think I'm going to go over some topics that we had kind of talked about before we started this.
Cool, man.
And one of them is the situation with North Korea. So I'm just going to get, like, your take on what's going on with North Korea and what you think, like, your best guess at where this situation goes.
Dude, I think, what's that movie with Seth Rogen and James Franco? I feel like that is like probably scarily
The interview.
accurate. I think the interview, yeah. I think that is probably way more accurate than what we realize. And to an extent, obviously, he probably doesn't have. Maybe he has like tiger growing around. Who knows? But I think North Korea, man, dude. If you look on a map and see their like electric output, and internet and stuff compared to the rest of the world, it's so like dark. You know.
Yeah.
I think they're just sheltered, and I think old Kim is a little just out of his gourd.
But I think the people of North Korea. So, do you think they would be a pushover in warfare? Is that pretty much what you're saying?
So, what I think is, I think that America is the greatest military power on the planet, and we have the greatest fighting spirit. Our men have the greatest fighting spirit. I firmly believe that.
More than Russia?
Yeah, dude. I think Russia is a ghost.
Russia has the psychology, though.
I think Russia has a ghost power, man. I think they're like. I think they put out like they're a big dog with a big bark, but I don't think their bite is as bad as they make it seem. I mean, I may sound crazy for saying that, but if you kind of look at their like economic structure and
well, like 40% of their economy, something like that. I'd have to look it up to find but it's some like significant percentage of their economy is like is black market.
Yeah.
So I mean,
it's
pretty much everybody in power is involved in with the mafia to some extent. Like the mafia is an arm of the government.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
like
sure.
the thing that makes I think as far as ghost power, maybe that to some extent is true. They don't have they're not some crazy economic power, but they do have the land, and those people are so crazy. Have you seen Russians have the craziest videos?
That
on
is
YouTube,
true.
and
I won't argue with that.
Like Americans in general, I feel like all the people that join the military, I know a lot of guys in the military that have insane drive and that are crazy patriotic and are willing to fight and die for the United States of America. On the other hand, probably more than half of the country is not that way to begin with, and a very small percentage of the country is prepared to actually fight.
So I think this goes back to friction points, man. And I think I would be willing to bet 100% of the time that these countries, they may be big. North Korea, maybe on the verge of being a superpower. Whatever, Russia has this land. All the people are crazy. You can say all that. I agree to an extent, but call me moto or romantic for saying this, but I feel like freedom wins in the end, dude.
Well, you're just a Texan.
That's what
you're
it
just
is, man.
A Texan.
And
yeah.
I think that it wins in the end. I mean, if you read or watch the Pacific or with the old breed and talking about old Marines back in the day and old soldiers in World War II, and I don't think a lot of them really didn't want to go to war. We weren't bloodthirsty, and I think that when our freedoms are threatened, people will step up.
But okay, so here's where this is a point of contention that I have with warfare in all forms is not necessarily protecting freedom, So I think that with North Korea, that's a legitimate threat because of their threat with nuclear weapons, but I don't know how much North Korea's existence itself threatens United States citizens' freedoms. I don't know. They're dealing with their own internal struggle. Obviously, part of that is Kim maintaining control in a country, where he has to censor all the information. He has to control every aspect of the economy. The people are starving. It's very low economic yield in that country. And he's trying to maintain power over that, plus trying to expand his power and not to recede into the distance. Because they have to do something on the world stage. Part of the reason they do that, setting off nukes and missiles and all that stuff, is to get the U.S. to be here's some money, calm down.
Yeah.
Here's food or whatever. There's humanitarian responses every time that they do something like that and get onto the world news, and they're flexing diplomatic muscle all over the world, and it's pretty. pretty significant that a country of that size with that population is that important on the world stage.
Well,
so to some extent, like what they're doing is working.
What you're saying, I agree. You know, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, my man. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so imagine if a legit country, not North Korea, was saying the same things. Dude, everybody would be way more freaked out. Things would be like, you know, Cold War II.
Like who, for instance?
If Britain was 4th of July, you know, what if Britain was like threatening us with
nuclear warfare? Strikes?
Dude, we would be getting ready to go throw down right now. North Korea's doing it, and it's like, all right, dude, like nobody puts baby in the corner, like throw the pacifier over there.
Yeah,
it's how I see it. Even if Russia was, you know, like
threatening. So do you think ultimately they're gonna have to just tone down their rhetoric, or do you think that they'll keep with the same tactics and wait for the U.S. to do something about it?
I think it depends.
Is that going to be the first country that tests Donald Trump's resolve?
I don't. It depends on China, dude. I think China is a swing vote on that. I think if China, because at one point China was like, "Hey, North Korea, like, y'all need to chill out a little bit."
Yeah. That was recently, like a couple months ago.
Not too long ago. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If China was to kind of change their tune a little bit, and maybe, you know, back North Korea a little bit more, which I'm sure they do right now, but who knows? I don't get paid enough to know. So
right.
I mean, I can only speculate, but I would think if North Korea had like Big Brother China behind them, you know, maybe they'd be willing to go throw some hands with the U.S. But dude, I think that we would win, man. Like I really do. Like I don't know. People, like I said, people probably call me romantic.
Well, I think the thing about war with North Korea is that's a horrific situation, and that's in a place that is completely like that's a atmosphere and theater that's very different than what we're involved in. I guess Afghanistan is as similar as you could get to Korea, but it still gets super cold there. And I've recently watched some Korean war documentaries. Marines had a hardcore time in Korea, man.
Boy. Yeah, I listened to the Jocko podcast, which I think, were you telling me you listened to Jocko's podcast?
Yeah, I started listening to him recently.
His podcast is amazing.
Yeah.
But if you listen to his one reviewing the book Colder Than Hell, dude, it'll make you feel like the biggest punk for like even like touching a thermostat. You know what I mean? Like these dudes, oh my god! Like, and that's what makes me think that like the American man's fighting spirit is better than anybody else's. I don't know. I truly believe that.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of patriotic Americans, and I think even myself, I've been more negative than I should be towards like the general attitude of Americans, because I think most people generally are behind the American project and behind adjusting it so that it reflects the will of the people. Mm-hmm. You know, people are becoming more aware of the ways that their communities are being controlled and regulated by corporate and government power, and people want control of those situations, of their communities, of their politics, and it's kind of a reawakening in some aspects of the sense of community. And I think technology has kind of brought us away from that. You know, you hear a lot about millennials being super involved in technology and self-absorbed and narcissistic on social media and all that stuff, and it's a huge point of contention apparently for people of further ahead generations than us that didn't grow up with technology. But now I kind of see like it has been at that point, and of course there's like gamers who do nothing but sit on their computer for 12 hours a day, and like you know, that's not healthy.
Yeah.
And you need to, like, go to the gym and work out and, like, be a productive member of society. But the internet and technology itself gives us so much more opportunity to spread ideas, the free flow of information. And, like, more Americans need to take responsibility for that and use it in a way that is producing light in their environment, that is really causing people to think in a good direction. Because I mean, there's a lot of depression in our society. Like, drugs are tearing apart communities, and people are looking for fulfillment in life in places where they're never going to find it. And they need to just, like, get involved with other people, start reading books, and, like, you know, get involved.
Work out, dude. Like, you got to work out. Like,
yeah.
That's a huge one, too. But, yeah, definitely all of the things that you said as well. For sure.
Yeah, working out I recently got back into the gym. My brother's a personal trainer at Gold's Gym, Pete Bennett. He's a good dude. And he was helping me out with a little bit of stuff. And obviously, like, moving all day, every day, your body gets super tight. Get a workout for sure, like, every day. But recently it's been hydration, dude. I need to start drinking a lot more water.
Pedialyte.
Yeah, Pedialyte. I need to get some of that.
Dude, I always forget about it. Then I'll see somebody that posts about Pedialyte or something. I'm like, oh, dude, we used to like dump that in Camelbacks and stuff, and it works. But I mean, you're supposed to cut it like, you know, with water.
Yeah,
like, not drink it straight. Which,
no,
like, we are dumbasses. We're
I never. I think the whole time I was in Egypt, all I ever drank was just the water bottles.
Yeah. Water.
That was pretty much it.
Water and energy drinks, dude. Like random, weird, like Afghani energy drinks.
I didn't really get into energy drinks, dude.
Oh, Rippets, man, were amazing.
That's the thing on deployment, apparently.
Yeah.
Rippets are the shit. And like, what is it? Wild Tiger or something?
Yeah, Wild Tiger.
They had that. Did they have that in Afghanistan? I know they had it in Iraq.
I've heard of it. And there was another one that was like Standing Rock, which tastes like, it's like lime. Like, oh, dude, it's so gross. But I don't know, we like crushed them. Rippets, and then something else, too. It was like a Pitbull energy drink too, dude. The weird thing was I drank like water and energy drinks, and then I tried a Dr Pepper like towards the end of the deployment. I was like, oh dude, I haven't had a Dr Pepper in like forever. So I tried one, and I was like, I didn't even finish it because it was just like so sweet. I don't know. I don't even drink soda that much anymore. Like I rarely ever. Maybe if I'm
I don't really. I noticed people in Texas are really into that
soda.
Yeah, like salsa water, soda water. You know, like LaCroix or whatever.
Yeah,
is that what it's called?
I think it's because people like the bubbles. You know, that's what my thing is. Like I don't know why the bubbles kind of. I don't know.
You want the carbonation?
Yeah. I don't know
the
why
bubbles.
the carbonation.
The
Yeah.
bubbles.
Yeah, dude. I think that's what. I don't know why. Weird.
Yeah, I don't know why people are super.
Like
nobody.
Topo Chico, like hipster swag.
Yeah. I do like Topo Chico though. That's good water, man.
Yeah.
It's expensive for like what it is. It's just carbonated water, but it's like, you know, you pay just like a soda. You know, it's like $2 for Topo Chico, but it is good. I like it. It's growing on me, but it weirded me out for a while that. But I guess, people used to drink a lot of soda in the South, I'm sure.
Oh,
and then,
like, still do, man. Like, all the time. Dr. Pepper, man.
Yeah. I never really got super into soda. I'll drink Coke or something with pizza.
Yeah. But anyway, we digress.
Yeah. We gotta get a little BS in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Oh. Yeah, so recently... This is going to be a good one. Recently, I saw that the first females graduated from Cavalry Scout training at Fort Benning, Georgia, which is where I went to basic training at.
I thought females had always been at Cav Scout training.
Well, formerly it was in every way but gender, and now it's gender.
Now it's just official. Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
exactly. Yeah. All the men go to the Marine Corps. That's a well-known fact.
Gotcha.
But now like full-fledged 100% females. Purebred.
Dude,
are allowed into Cav Scout training, which is, I mean, and apparently the article that I read said that they completed the same standard that is required of males Cav Scouts. And so, which basically means they had to complete the ruck marches. Mm-hmm. They still have a different standard in the PT manual.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is, the physical aspect of it, they didn't complete, technically, you know, the same standard that's required of male Cav Scouts. But they did make it through, and apparently they're heading to Cav Scout units. And I know the Marine Corps did a really long study about females in combat.
Yes, I have I feel like I have a pretty good handle on that. Because when we got back from Afghanistan, they handpicked a bunch of dudes from our unit to go to this like experimental company to train females and like male Marines together.
Okay.
Dude, I don't know, man.
What was your position in that? What were you doing?
I didn't do it. But,
okay.
But I knew a bunch of people, guys who went, you know, kind of senior guys who went to train them, and they were basically like the cadre for this experimental company that was like supposed to run just like a regular line company,
Right.
and was just integrated with females and Marines. And they got back there. I don't remember, it was like a month or so, or 2 months, whatever it was. However long they spent training there, and they're just like, dude, it was just a shit show, man. But I don't know, my
In what ways?
dude, like there was like drama, like people getting pregnant and this and that.
Watch
and, like,
your likes, dude. Watch your likes. Like, watch like. Don't say like.
Oh, okay.
Every other word.
Okay.
It's all right.
I didn't even
It's
know
all right.
that.
It's all right. It's all right. I just want to make sure that like this aspect.
That what?
This aspect of it is listenable. So we're gonna slow it down. Slow it down a little bit. Watch our language, because I want this to be. I don't want to make a mistake on this aspect of the
cool.
podcast. So I just want to focus on language and really make sure that we're articulating what we're saying in this situation. All right, go ahead.
Well, I'll kind of start over. Okay.
Yeah.
So I had.
Sorry about that.
No worries. No worries. I had a bunch of friends, and people I knew, associates I knew from the Marine Corps that were handpicked to go and train female Marines and male Marines in this infantry company. It was kind of an experimental thing.
Yeah.
And so they did, I guess, a month or 2 months there or whatever. And they came back and they said it was just kind of a cluster. To be nice about it, just drama. There was I don't, and this is like 3 years ago, so I don't remember all the specifics. But on the other hand, I know a guy in the Marine Corps right now. I don't want to disclose names or anything like that, but
yeah.
He actually has a female infantryman in his company. I don't even know what. I couldn't tell you if I knew or. See, now you got me all nervous, dude.
No, it's all right. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. Just
right.
like slow it down a little bit.
So anyway, I don't know. I don't even know what unit he's in. But anyway, he was telling me the other day that this female Marine, one of the first female Marines in infantry unit, is actually like better than most of the other boots on the gun. Like from a technical aspect, she's better than all of his other new people. Sure. Well, the thing is, her PT isn't as good, which that's the friction point of. So like friction point 8 times. that's the sticking point for, like, you may have females who are amazing and know like all their nomenclature, knowledge, whatever, and it's like, dude, if you can't keep up, you can't PT as well. That's where the problem lies, because there's plenty of dudes who can do just the same thing.
Yeah.
So I think that like if females in the infantry, if they can hang and they can PT and they can do everything solid, then by all means let them in. But I just don't think. My thing is like the lowering of standards. If you start lowering standards from any aspect, and I feel like that's very reasonable to say we can't do that.
I feel like that's the typical response of most people who have been in a combat unit, that they just say, "Oh, I want to see the same standard, and I want to see the same standard upheld."
Yeah.
But I know for a fact it's different for guys. Like there are guys that are weak, that have no heart, that make it through combat training. 100%. So I'm not saying that necessarily there aren't women that couldn't do the same job as good or better. In some situations, for me, it comes down to a societal aspect of what the military is designed to do. It's not so much about the quality of the women. It's not so much about their physical capability. It's not so much about their integrating into an all-male unit. It's about what the military is designed to do.
Yeah.
And our military, now, the guys that are in combat units, that are on the ground, boots on the ground, shooting and killing people, it's primarily guys, and it's a very, very small section of our society. It's not like everybody joining the army to go and shoot people or be in a combat situation. It's guys who volunteer. And when you're in that situation, proof positive of that situation being a tough and grueling psychological experience is how many people come back with significant and enduring psychological damage because of what they experience. And for me, it's like when you're a man, I do believe that our military should be a defensive force. And in some ways throughout our history, it hasn't been used as that. But for me, the ideal role for the American military is as a defensive force. We're not supposed to be just invading countries and taking them over and taking their stuff in most aspects, you know? And in that sense, I think the defensive responsibility in a healthy, functioning society is the responsibility of the males in that society. That a society that's going to exist effectively and that's going to defend itself well has to have an initiation process of males. That when you're brought into that situation, you do have to go through grueling training. Yeah. You have to build your body up to a point that it's never been before. You have to endure suffering and pain, and you have to go through intense psychological abuse, you know, in many ways. And then you have to overcome that. And honestly, like, I just don't want the women in our society to have to endure that. And I mean, maybe that's not that. I don't know. That's my opinion about that. I don't think that it's good for our society. And I think that men should be going to war, preparing to defend their families and their homes. And that's the responsibility of being a man, you know? And it's one thing that is not, that's not a popular, it's not a popular opinion to have, you know? It's male privilege, exactly, yeah. And, I don't know, like, women have their burdens to bear, you know, just like dudes do. And it's not any easier of an existence by any means. Yeah. But I think in a healthy, functioning society, the job of warfare and defending your home falls on men, you know. You have to be willing to face the demons in order to, you know, help your society and your culture thrive. So, I mean, that's just my personal opinion about it. And then as far as what's happening right now, it's pretty obvious that men and women can't be held to the same physical standard, because you can't, it's not that they can't endure the pain, it's not that they can't overcome that and, you know, do whatever it is that they have to do. It's just that men's bodies are built differently, and we can withstand more weight. And it's not, and I mean, that's the way it's supposed to be. You know? And that's the way that our country has survived and gotten to this point right now. It wasn't because, it was because there were strong men who were willing to take a stand and defend their homes and be proud of what they're doing. I'm not saying that women shouldn't have the same opportunities to advance, like, through the military. Obviously, like, they're if they want to be in the military, I guess, like, that's up to them. But as far as, like, fighting, being in a combat situation, like, those units have been preserved as all-male units because it's been necessary to keep the cohesiveness of the units.
So, a couple points that you hit on are very, very solid. First point, you said there's, like, males that just can't keep up with the standard either, and that's another problem is, you know, you have just this POS that can't do anything, but he still gets pushed through he's able to hit the bare minimum. The bare minimum is not good enough. Like, it just isn't. And so he's attached to this unit, and that it's basically dead weight. You know, you hope he doesn't kill somebody accidentally. And that's just, it's like we have a big enough problem with that as it is, so we don't need females, I'm not saying all females, like, don't need females pushed into the same circumstance that can't keep up. So it's a big enough problem with certain males as it is, you know. You throw females, it's just a higher percentage. Mathematically, it's a higher percentage of people.
And it's just a different social dynamic when you introduce females into, like, an initiation process that has been predominantly male driven throughout history. Like the initiation process into a fighting force has been done by males, like, forever. And you introduce a female into that, you're changing the social structure of that initiation, and it becomes something completely different than what it's been in the past. So I'm not saying that it's wrong that it's different. I'm saying that when you change something that has been the same way throughout the existence of human beings and exists, like, predominantly all over the world, it's all male militaries for a reason. And obviously, like, the main objection to that would be, like, the IDF. Obviously, they have women in the IDF and they fight in combat units in the same way.
They
but
have a little bit different predicament.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. They have a much smaller
kind of
recruiting pool.
Necessary.
To maintain any kind of size in that military.
Yeah, and it's not like a negative outlook on women by any means. Like, I absolutely love women, and dude, women are. That's why I don't think they should be in combat roles, is because they're like sacred, in a way. They can do things that we can't. And if you look back from the same, jumping on the coattails of what you were saying, the kind of dynamic of male initiation. Women are there, have been there throughout history to help keep the civilization alive and populated.
Right.
You'd be awesome, if you could have just an all-male force or whatever, but it's not. It doesn't work without women. Women are the cog that keeps the machine running, and
it's not about separating.
No,
it's not about. I know exactly what you're trying to say. I'm trying to say it a different way.
It's like we're on the same team. We have different positions, basically. Is what it is. It's
and we have to keep, like, the United States of America. There's a lot of people, obviously, all over the world that you and I were prepared to face that are 100% interested in seeing the United States fall as an entity.
Yeah, dude,
and
exactly.
what we should be primarily concerned about is how we preserve what we have here, because we have a great country full of great people that are passionate and involved with what they're doing. And how do we keep this project alive, and how do we keep it healthy, and how do we keep it moving in a direction that is best for everybody? That we have people, when you order your society and your community in ways that societies and communities are supposed to be structured, you get the best result.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's kind of, we're messing with that formula a little bit. Like, women can work, women can, it's everything. Not that, like, I don't know.
Dude, women.
I don't want to be a.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, you can't. Like, you sound like you try and explain to people and you think you're a misogynist, whatever. But the moral of the story, it boils down to, like, women are like your star quarterback on a football team, and men are your defensive side. You're not going to put your star quarterback on defense to do all the the dirty work. You need that star quarterback to win games. You know what I'm saying? You see what I mean? Like,
I understand the it's not an enjoyable experience. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's not fun to go through that necessarily. How many days do you spend, like, wishing you could have been anywhere else for the whole 3 years that you were in the Marine Corps?
Yeah, exactly.
How many days you spend just, like, thinking about your own death and when it's coming and what you're going to be facing and what you're going to be asked to do and all that stuff. And, I mean, it's not an easy thing to do, and men have a hard enough time, like, dealing with that psychology. Why would you want to introduce that to more of your population, expose more of your population to that aspect of human existence? It's not fun. I know, like, plenty of guys who went through Iraq and dealt with all that. But, I mean, ultimately it's up to our society.
Yeah.
Like,
the beauty of it is you have the freedom to do what you want.
And that's where the military is right now. Yeah. And if major combat units got deployed tomorrow, obviously, like, it just is what it is. They would go in the position that they're already in. But I don't know. I just don't think it would be a good situation. But it's my opinion. I don't know. That's what this is. I guess we'll see what kind of response I get from that. I guess we should have had your fiance chime in.
That would be nice, but I think she's busy doing stuff.
Yeah.
But,
because
anyway.
I would really like to get a female opinion on it for sure, because I know that, like, it's about this is just us kind of putting it out there back and forth, but obviously we're not the primary party. We volunteered to go and be part of what we thought our society needed at the time, and obviously there's no saying that women don't have that same drive and want to preserve the same patriotism and the same willingness to do whatever they need to do to preserve their homeland and stuff. Yeah. And I know women feel that super deeply, and it's no different of an emotion. It's no different.
Yeah.
It's no different of how much you love your home and your family and everything and the things that you're willing to do to preserve it. It's just the effectiveness of the society.
Well, I mean, how good do you think we would have done in World War II without Rosie the Riveter? You know, women picked up so much slack.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And I've heard people. So I heard people in when I was going to ACC that were talking about how women during World War II were a big part of all the manufacturing and all that stuff, and then at the end of it, they were like pushed back into the kitchen or whatever. That men like took over careers again and
jobs back or whatever.
But I mean, they went and had kids, and people lived a decent existence back then.
Yeah.
It's like the middle class was strong. They were building. We had really strong manufacturing. It went to a lot of good places because like women stood up and did their part, and then they had kids, and we're here now. Like a lot of the baby boomers right now that are controlling stuff exist because those people did what they did, and it's just I really like Jordan Peterson again because he's stressing so much, just taking the responsibility for your community, and I kind of already said this already, but it's in the same aspect of looking around at our community and seeing the ways that we want to make it healthier, more livable. I mean, it's pretty obvious that there are a lot of ways that people are hurting and that the world that they're living isn't working for them. I mean, the suicide rate is off the charts. People get addicted to drugs. Communities falling apart. People not feeling like they have any support. And that's crushing. And I want to get community back to a place in my own small little way of like, producing this podcast or whatever, get people back to a place where we can be proud of where our government is at, where our people are at, and be proud of like the place that we come from and what we're producing. And I really hope that this podcast is like a step in that direction of unifying people, not tearing people apart. Obviously, my opinion won't be shared with a lot of people, and I'm fine with that.
That's the beauty, man. You got to try and seek out people who have different opinions, because that's how your opinion gets better.
Right.
And you made better somebody else's opinion. So
right.
You have to seek out people with different ones and not be afraid to hear what they had to say and not get offended by.
I just want to encourage people that, like, I know that there are going to be people that disagree with me and that have whole different opinions, and I want those people not to be afraid to express that,
Yeah.
And
exactly.
I definitely want to have a conversation and facilitate it, but I don't want to control the conversation. Like I want it to be open,
even have a debate,
and honest.
Man, even if it's even a debate, that's growth right there.
Yeah.
Whatever, as long as it's civil.
Yeah. But we're at an hour, and I think we've covered some good topics. And
we'll have to do it again sometime.
Yeah, we're gonna do it again once I've developed more of this stuff. Once I've gotten further down the road. But I'm glad that you did this with me the first time around.
Yeah, dude.
And then
I'll
have you on again. Obviously, like, share, and subscribe if you like what you hear, or if you want to get involved with the conversation at all. If you want to refine my opinions and make me a better person, I would really appreciate it. But I think we're signing off, so thanks a lot, man. Yes.